What's going on, everyone? My name is Thief Strings, and today we have a very special video. It is the very first of the PLL playoff recaps. This week, the PLL traveled to New England, playing in Gillette Stadium, which, to be honest, I am not a big fan of the PLL playing in these big NFL stadium venues that can fit 50, 60, 70,000 plus people. Realistically, they're never going to be able to pack one of those stadiums or even the lower bowl section of that arena. I think the vibes are way better when they're playing in the smaller college venues like Albany, Hofstra, or even some of the MLS stadiums like the Red Bull Arena. Just a way better atmosphere when the stands are actually packed instead of it looking like there's just a whole ton of empty seats like there were at Gillette this weekend. That's just my opinion though. In this video, we're going over the second game of the weekend, the second game of the playoffs between the Outlaws and the Whipsnakes, which is a very interesting matchup between two incredibly different franchises. The other game earlier in the day was between the Cannons and the Chaos, and once again the playoff Chaos showed up in the postseason much better than they looked in the regular season. I don't know what Andy Tower says to those guys to get them juiced up, but they just keep winning. Let's focus on this game for now though, and let's take a quick look at the Whipsnakes before this game. The Whipsnakes got hot at the perfect time of the season. They have been on an absolute roll. They finally got things clicking. Jim Stagnita has these boys playing fantastic, way better than in the beginning of the year, way better than last year. It's nice to see the Whipsnakes back. They're pretty much done with their rebuild after only 1 year, not even a year. Their rebuild lasted like half a season. I don't know how they turned it around so quick. It's kind of nuts. We know about all of the old talent and the veterans that the Whipsnakes have. We know how they play, we know their play style, we know their mentality. Now you have all that plus TJ Malone and a nice injection of some other young guys like Levi Anderson. They also recently added Ryan Conrad from the Waterdogs to make up from the loss of Tucker Dordovic, who went out injured only about a week or two after he returned to the league, which is pretty sad. They, however, haven't played since all the way back in August 9th. They had their bye week the last week of the season, and then the whole entire league had another bye week the week after that. So they've got pretty much 3 weeks, a month without playing a game. Will we be able to see any type of rust from them? I'm expecting them to definitely have a slow start in this game. On the other side of the field, Denver has also been on somewhat of a roll late into the season, into the postseason. Definitely not as much, having as much momentum as the Whipsnakes, but they still are looking way better than they did in the beginning of the year. This game is somewhat of a case of like an old team versus a young team, or just two very different franchises. The Whipsnakes have been incredibly successful. The Outlaws, and formerly known as the Chrome, never really found too much success. They have so many young rookies on their team right now who's giving them the majority of their production, whereas the Whipsnakes, even though they have some young guys, they still are that vet team. All those guys feel like they've been around forever. Of course, a lot of attention is going to be on Brennan O'Neill, his very first professional playoff game, but the interesting thing that I'm going to keep my eye on is Brennan O'Neill has a history of kind of ghosting somewhat in big games. Certainly hope we see him at his full potential today, but if he does fall off, we can expect to see Bundy, Hanley, and Zawada pick up the slack a little bit. They've been playing great this season whenever Brennan O'Neill is in somewhat of a slump. And we do have another brotherly matchup in this game. The Bernhardt brothers, there's one on each roster, a short stick dimity on the Whipsnakes and the long pole on the Outlaws. So this one means a little bit extra for those two. The winner of this game will get to face the Atlas next week on Long Island at Hofstra University. I'll be at that game, so keep an eye out. If you see me, say what's up. But other than that, let's not waste any more time with the pregame notes. Let's get right into the action. So the very first clip of this game comes 4 minutes into the game. Slow start as we predicted. Mike Manley makes a really slick ground ball play on this one here. Zedd Williams isn't able to control that ball. It wasn't a great pass, but Manley just gooses it right between his legs, gets the nutmeg. Ole! All my soccer fans are loving that one. He picks up the ground ball and passes it upfield to a teammate. The Outlaws start off the scoring in this game. Specifically, it's Dalton Young for them, and I gotta be honest for a second. Dalton Young, I was not familiar with your game. In the Outlaws games that I have watched so far this season, Dalton Young hasn't really played that much or had that big of an impact in the ones I watched, so you'll see a couple more clips of him today in this game, but he really impressed me, especially in this very first dodge, starting off the tempo for his team nice and early. He hits a super clean shake and bake from the top of the field, swims to his left, and then just gets a step down and puts that thing away. Really fundamental, honestly. It was flashy. Finishes it with a bouncer, time and room shot. That's the fundamental part, but I feel like you don't see a lot of these type of goals in the PLL where middy's dodging north to south down the field and gets enough space that he can plant his feet and take a somewhat step down. It's really just because the field is smaller and the defenses are so great, but the fact that Dalton Young was able to find that room and execute that play, big props to him. That was a beautiful goal. About 50 seconds later, the Whipsnakes answer with some offense of their own. Their offense actually came from their defense. Ajax Zapitello runs all the way down the field, has wide open space right down Main Street, and any professional player that you're just gonna let walk down the middle of your field field, yeah, they're gonna score that. Ajax did do a good job though in freeing himself. He looks off JT Giles-Harris right here with just a slight little, it's not even really a fake. He just brings his stick up for like a half second to indicate that he might be about to pass it, and the defender bites, doesn't slide, and lets him walk right in. Way to freeze the defense on that one. He was looking like he's been playing short stick his whole life. O'Neal then scores another one for the Outlaws, and he's not letting the ghosting allegations get to him today. For some reason, Matt Dunn is sagging off like 10-15 yards from Brennan O'Neal. He sees this and decides to take matters into his own hands. He just runs full speed, bull dodge from X, gets his body into Matt Dunn, who's not a small guy whatsoever. This is able to move him a little bit, but the craziest part about this isn't the fact that he bowled through Matt Dunn. It's the angle of that finish. Impossible angle. I don't know how he snuck this in. Smart to leave it in his left hand, but I'm really loving to see that from Brennan O'Neal. Like I said in the beginning of the video, he's known somewhat for disappearing in these big games, but not right here. He said, give me that. Yeah, man, I don't know why Brennan O'Neal doesn't just do this every game. I mean, there's not a defender in the world besides maybe Graham Hossack who could stop this. I mean, look how big this guy's legs are. He's what, 6'3", 250? Whew. I would not get in front of that. The Whipsnakes' own star rookie TJ Malone has an answer for the Outlaws' star rookie Brennan O'Neal. He loses his defender in the two-man game here, but the impressive part of this goal is the finish. It's kind of a lazy, super casual finish. He makes like one half fake, and then I haven't really seen this in the PLL, but he just leaves his stick wide open, completely not protecting it. I mean, there's no one around him, so he doesn't need to, but I've never really seen a fake quite like that where he just leaves the stick out like there and then just has a quick little dinky finish. It's like the total opposite of what you're taught. It looked pretty funny, definitely effective though. And I told you we'd see more of Dalton Young in this game. We're still not done with him after this clip, but a somewhat similar goal to the last one he scored. He shakes and bakes again. This time he splits right to right, plants again, and just stings the top corner. I don't know what it is about these two dodges from Dalton Young, but I really enjoyed watching these two. I don't know, it's just such like a perfect, you draw it up just like that. The dodge, the plant, the rip, it all looks so fundamental, but like with a little flair on top. I don't know, it's beautiful lacrosse. I love it. It's textbook. The transition from the dodge into his shot motion was so clean and crisp. No wasted movement, no wasted momentum. Beautiful, perfect shot from him. And this game in the first quarter at least was really close. Neither team could get much on top of the other one. Neither team can figure out a way to really pull away from the other one. Like we can see right here, that Dalton Young goal put the Outlaws up by a goal, but Mike Chanenchuk has an answer. He has a timing room shot of his own where he's left open, plant, rip. It's Chanenchuk, damn right that's going in. All right, so starting off the second quarter, we revisit that Matt Dunn versus Brennan O'Neal matchup, which was a great sight to see the entire game. O'Neal's dodging up lefty. Matt Dunn puts a big body on him, pushes him away. Not many guys can do that to Brennan. He dumps it off to Sam Hanley. He's got a pull on him, doing a north to south dodge, rolls back. Second-year player on a pen, No, that was disgusting. Sam Hanley, are you out of your damn mind?
How the fuck are you out of your damn mind?
Who thinks to do that with a long pole in your face? It's not like he was open. Long pole in his grill. He hits a jumper from 2, and it's not like he was running towards the net with momentum to go behind that jumper. He just jumped straight up and plants this right under the crossbar. Listen to this sound one more time.
Hanley, second-year player on and that is just nasty. A jump shot from the top of the cave.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. If you hear that and do not get extremely happy, you are not a lacrosse fan. One more time.
Hanley, second-year player on and that is just nasty.
I have no idea how you get so much pace on your shot when jumping like that. Ridiculous. I've only really showed offensive clips and highlights from this game so far, but both these teams were playing very stout, very good fundamental defense. The goals that both teams were getting, they really had to earn. They were coming off either good team play or great individual efforts, like those O'Neal and Young goals. However, on this clip, we do have some great defense. TJ Malone is obviously one of the most dangerous players on the Whipsnakes, and the Outlaws clearly took notice of that and game planned for it. Off this pick here, they double him behind the net at X. I believe that's Tarafanko and Bernhardt. They end up forcing the turnover from him. Great defense, way to double. Excuse me, not Tarafanko, that was Hawes. The Whipsnakes deliver another beautiful shot from another beautiful player on this one here. Old man Colin Heacock, who I'm saying that with respect because I just feel like Colin Heacock's been playing lacrosse for as long as I've been a fan at the highest level. He gets a goal playing against his former team. I guess not technically his former team because they were the Chrome when he was on them, but whatever. You know what I mean. He just catches this one in space. Nothing too fancy. Bit of a fadeaway, but he plants his feet just like Dolan Young on the other side of the field, lets it fly and sneaks it in the net. I really love Heacock. Like I said, he's been around for a while, always has a great personality. I think he embodies exactly what it means to be a midfielder at the highest level in pro lacrosse. This guy can do it all. He can play offense, he can play defense. He's all over the field. True stallion. The young Patra decides to take matters into his own hands on this play here. Completely just gives it the get out of my way, let me ISO, I'll do it myself mentality. When he caught this ball, you could tell he only had one thing on his mind, and it was get to the crease and get a bucket. Puts his head down, just sprints to his right, muscles his way in, dives through the crease, and a beautiful crease dive. The refs took a second to discuss it, but ended up making what seemed like the good call at the time, confirming that it was a goal. Tim Sudan throws the challenge flag though, and after looking at the replay, the head of his stick hits the head of the goalie stick, which is technically a violation. The goal gets ruled out. Honestly, that's a soft rule. It is the right call because that is what the rules say, but I feel like if you're gonna hit the stick of the goalie with your stick, I mean, you're not hurting anyone. You're not causing pain to the goalie or injuring him. I don't think that should be a rule. If you hit the goalie with your body, yeah, of course, definitely a penalty. But stick on stick contact, come on, that's pretty lame. That's a lame way to lose a goal. Either way, even though that goal was ruled out, the Whipsnakes end up getting a man-up opportunity because they rule that he was pushed into the crease, and they scored on that one like 5 seconds later, so no damage done, I guess. That goal brings us to halftime, and this game has been way tighter than I thought. I mean, I guess it makes sense since the Outlaws don't have a lot of playoff experience. They were gonna have a rocky start, and the Whipsnakes haven't played in basically a month, so we shouldn't have really expected one team to dominate, but I didn't expect it would be this neck and neck. These teams were so evenly matched in the first half. The score right now is 6-6. Both of them are looking good on offense, getting their systems down, playing within their game plan. The defenses are also playing quite well, so I really don't know what's going to break the deadlock on this one. There aren't any easy goals. These teams are having to grind to get these points. Interestingly, the MVP duo of Zedd Williams and Matt Rambo have done pretty much nothing so far in that first half. TJ Malone has done more than enough to pick up the slack for those two, but it's quite surprising that you have two very skilled vets who are built for moments like this, who we know can produce, and they're just falling off the face of the earth, even though they do have some good help on their team. Also want to definitely give a shout out to Ryan Tarafenko for his first half performance. This man must be on something this game, because I have not seen him play this hard. He always plays hard, but I've never seen him play this hard. That man was sprinting up and down the field 110% on even the most minute of plays. He's looking like a madman. I'm just tired watching him. I wonder if he's gonna have any gas for the second half, because if I was him, I'd be done already, honestly. Also want to shout out the face-off matchup that's going on here, because you would expect in a Joe Nardella game that he would just dominate, but Luke Weirman's actually keeping this pretty close. It's about 40-60 at halftime, which is really good considering he's playing against Nardella. So shout out Luke Weirman. I'm really pumped to see how this game turns out in the second half. We're dead locked up even right now, so let's get right into the action again. Starting off the first half, this isn't even really a highlight, just a play that kind of impressed me. I'm not sure who this was on the Outlaws right here, but even though he did get the penalty for over and back, which is on him, that's his fault, I was really impressed the fact that this dude jumped, was fully horizontal to the ground, and still was able to drop a dime of a pass right on the ear. Doesn't count for anything. He got the penalty, but still very impressive, super athletic. In this clip, I had to laugh somewhat because Ajax Zapitello runs out to chase the ball, get the backup. He dives, putting in extra effort. I thought he should have gotten this call from the refs, but they give it back to the Outlaws, and he gets pissed. You can see how mad he was. I really wish I could have heard what he said. He probably just yelled the F word, if we're being real. I do agree with him, though. That probably should have been his ball. Either way, Crossbar grabs the ball off the end line, sprints to his right, works a good two-man game with Dalton Young. Dalton Young gets his man hung up, has room, uses his angles smartly, and with a flurry of finishes, kind of like a dip and dunk type of play, he completes his hat trick on the day. From an impossible angle again, Brennan O'Neill had an impossible angle goal. Now he's got an impossible angle goal. Great game so far from the young Outlaws. Speaking of Brennan O'Neill, he shows up just what a nice guy he is on this play right here. He was kind enough to take time out of his day in the middle of the game to have a catch with a young fan in the crowd. Obviously, I'm trolling a little bit here. I see the idea with a one-handed shot, but oh my god, that was not even close to being close. Good handle on that catch, but yeah, he almost killed one of those kids. They caught it though. They were super pumped up. It was nice to see them all hyped about catching the game ball. A couple plays later, O'Neill more than makes up for that god-awful shot that he just took. He dodges from his favorite spot, the high wing, and the finish is what's most impressive here. It's almost like a vertical finish in his left hand. Somewhat of a twister, somewhat of just a top-down, straight-up shot. Either way, no angle on that one either. For whatever reason, O'Neal just hates scoring from a positive angle this year. In college, I feel like a lot of his highlights and goals were with him sweeping around and running to the middle of the field, increasing his angle. In the PLL, though, certainly he's done that a little bit, but maybe just where he's been able to get more room and more opportunities. But I feel like all his shots and all his goals this year have come from a crappy angle. It's impressive that he can finish it, but just something I noticed watching him this year. Here's a highlight most media will never think to put in their videos, and that's just a classic gritty lacrosse ground ball scrum. You got the shot, the rebound goes off the goalie, Nick Grill cross-checks a dude in the neck, the goalie tries to get it, Zedd Williams dives on top of the ball, Matt Rambo picks it up, spins away behind the back to TJ Malone, and now we can calm down. I don't know how you would even think about being a PLL or lacrosse commentator, because the action is just so quick. I mean, I got to watch this 4 times before I hit record, and I still struggled to list everything that just happened and the amount of time it just happened. Fun play there. Don't know how Nick Grill got away with that cross check, but it is what it is. Graham Bundy has been pretty quiet this game up to this point, but right on cue, he catches this ball from like 7 and 5, somewhat more outside than 5 and 5, you know, a little closer to the sideline. Either way, he catches it, not even one cradle, one simple motion, and then rips it top right. That was an absolute heater, beautiful form. I think Graham Bundy might have the nicest standing time and room underhand shot in the league. Yes, that's a very specific category to give him credit for, but either way, look how beautiful this shot is. It almost looks like a golf swing. It's gorgeous. And the placement too, you can only get like a couple more centimeters into the top corner than he just put that. Here's another classic lacrosse scrummy type play. First of all, Owen McElroy had his hands full for sure. He had to be locked in for this Levi Anderson play. Tarafanko picks up the ball, gets it checked away by Zedd Williams. First save by Owen McElroy, second save this time from TJ Malone. He outlets it to Tarafanko. Tarafanko gets ripped down to the ground by his neck. He's getting hacked, takes care of the ball, thrown down once again by TJ Malone, but he stays with it. This is what I'm talking about, Tarafanko this game. He was absolutely on something. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to speculate, but there was no way this dude just strolled up and played the game. He had some of Mike's secret sauce or something like that. And even the finish of this play too, I didn't even let the play finish, but it ends with a Mike Manley, who's a close defender, an older guy, not known for attacking the goal. He tries to take a shot. It does sail over the net, but what a chaotic play. I love lacrosse for plays like that. By this point in the game, we're nearing the end of the third quarter, and it looks like the Outlaws are actually building up a lot of momentum here. They're leading the Whipsnakes by 2, and I felt like if they were able to get 1 or 2 more, they would be able to put this one away with the run that it seemed like they were about to go on. However, this is one of the saddest things I've possibly ever seen. This is a major what-if scenario for anyone looking back on this season years down the line. The clock in the third quarter is winding down. Whipsnakes player tries to feed it inside to TJ Malone. He throws it from outside the 2-point line. Pay attention to that. It's a bad pass, soft pass. TJ Malone doesn't handle it, and it dribbles into the net off the thigh of JT Giles-Harris. Not only is that an own goal, that's own goals worth 2 points because the last Whipsnakes player who touched it was outside the 2-point arc. Brutal. I could not believe that when I was watching it. That is such a bad, tough break for the Outlaws. I mean, scoring an own goal is bad enough, but an own goal that came from a crappy, slow pass that bounced once, bounced off your own thigh, in between the goalie's legs, and it counts for 2? I might have just ended it all right there. I would have just walked off the field, took my helmet off, I'm done, I'm going home. Forget that. That's crazy. So now it's tied up 9-9 going into the fourth. Huge killer of momentum for the Outlaws. Another quick note about this game heading into the fourth. Nardella is starting to cook. Luke Weirman kept the matchup really close for a long time, but heading into the fourth quarter, Nardella is starting to cook, so that's a bad sign for the Outlaws. That's what you need, though, if you're a Whips fan. So as good as this game was in the first 3 quarters, I was actually pretty disappointed with the way things turned out in the fourth quarter. We didn't even get a highlight-worthy play until halfway through the quarter. We're still gonna run through the important stuff anyway, so let's see what went down. Matt Dunn gives the crowd the first thing in cheer about in the fourth quarter, which was this really sweet back check where he helicopters the stick of Graham Bundy. Even though it was a great defensive play, Graham Bundy still was able to pick up his stick and the ground ball, which is pretty crazy to pick up your stick and the GB in like one slick move like that. Either way, still a fantastic check from Matt Dunn. This graphic showing the scoring trends from this game is pretty ridiculous, honestly. The fact that it is that evenly matched with the same exact amount of goals scored by each team every quarter at this point, and now we get to the 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter and there has been 0 goals in the fourth. Pretty wild stuff we're witnessing. That is until Patra rips things wide open in the fourth with that same exact play pretty much as he had last time. He does the same move, faking left, running right, putting the stick in his right hand, and he just says, get the hell out of my way, I'm running to the net and I'm getting a bucket. This time there's no crease dive. He does hit a nice little fake and gets his ass kicked a little bit by the slide, but he won't care. He got the goal, and this time it actually counts. Not worried about the contact, only thinking about the goal. How could you not love to see it? Patra leaves his mark on this game once again. This time he connects with TJ Malone. And if you want to see how fine the margins in the PLL are, look at Bernhardt playing defense right here. He literally just takes one half wrong step. He doesn't even commit to the slide whatsoever, but just that half a step of space that Malone gets is more than enough for him to catch this quick stick, not cradle a single time, and from this terrible angle, he puts it in. Shout out to Patra. He's having the game of his life right now, at least the game of his professional career. Absolutely turning it up in the dying minutes of the fourth quarter. It's almost a twister quick stick finish from TJ Malone too. Very, very nice. The Whips did need some of these other guys to pick up the slack, because still, if you guys have noticed, I haven't shown a single Zedd Williams or Matt Rambo highlight because, well, there were none. They really didn't do anything. With under 60 seconds left in the game, the Outlaws are down by 2 goals, but that's not terrible in the PLL because we do have the 2-point line. They were clearly hunting for it with the clock winding down, and the Whipsnakes were aware of this, pressing out. Somehow, Bernhardt, though, gets wide open in the middle of the field and gets the goal for his team to make it a 1-point game. Now, to be fair to the Whipsnakes, even though there's 60 seconds left and you're playing for your playoff lives, I guess if there was one guy to leave open or one guy to leave in space, yeah, it's probably the close defender who for some reason ventured up the field to stay on attack for your final possession. I don't know how that happens, but I guess it worked out for him. However, that would prove to be the last score of the game. The Whipsnakes were able to hold out, and Nardella won the last faceoff of the game, the ever important one, and they seal the deal. They will be meeting the Atlas next week to play in a Hofstra Stadium. Winner of next week's game advances to the PLL Championship. This was a great game to watch, definitely lived up to the playoff hype, and even though they lost, I am incredibly proud of this Outlaws team and the entire arc that they went on this season. They were the worst team potentially of all time last year, turning things around to the point of being in a 1-goal game in the playoffs. Yes, they lost, but they played so much better in this game at the end of the season compared to even the beginning of this season. Such a drastic turnaround. I mean, I remember that game against the Atlas where they lost like 18 or something to 4, and they just looked awful. This time though, they looked way, way better. I am excited, very excited to see how they look next year, considering that they have a lot of young guys. They're only going to keep getting better. They're only going to keep meshing and gelling. They're only going to keep adding talent through the draft, through trades. This could be a really dangerous team very, very soon. This squad is right where they need to be, and because they're so young, they're going to learn a ton from this game and come back with a vengeance next year. Once again, shout out to Ryan Terrafango. He played so hard this entire game. Even in the second half, I have no clue how he had so much gas left in the tank, but a true D-Mitty Hard Hat Award winning performance from him. The Whipsnakes clearly still have that champions mentality, that championship pedigree. Even if they're playing a team with so much more youth, so much more spunk and energy, they're still going to figure out a way to pull through and get the win. With their 2 MVPs putting up, what, 1 point between the two of them, or 2 points each, they played not great at all. They weren't awful, they weren't hurting the team, but they didn't really contribute at all. Even so, the rest of the team rallied around them, and they were able to find a way to figure it out and pull out the W. This team has so many ways to hurt you. I would be scared of any team to meet them in the playoffs. They are playing the Atlas. I don't think the Atlas need to be scared of anyone, but if there is a team that's going to take them down, it is going to be the Whipsnakes. Even if their 2 MVPs aren't playing well, guys like Patra, TJ Malone, Levi Anderson, all super young, and they're going to draw slides. They're going to pick up the slack. Let's go over some of the notable performance from this game, and then let's get out of here and move on. From the Outlaws side of things, Sam Hanley played pretty good. He had 4 points on the day. He had 2 assists and 1 2-pointer, which that 1 2-pointer was probably the most ridiculous one I've seen all season. I showed you the hat trick Dalton Young had, but the most impressive part about his performance was he got those 3 goals goals on only 5 shots. So that's what, like a 60, 65, something like that % shooting percentage. Great game from him. I was not familiar with your game. I am now. Mike Manley, the veteran defender, picked up 4 ground balls, and Luke Weirman held Nardella to right around 50%. Incredibly impressive from the rookie to hold one of the GOATs to pretty much a dead even matchup. Not many guys in the league can say that. Technically, if you look at the numbers, he did better in this matchup than Trevor Baptiste did when he played Nardella. Congratulations to Luke Weirman on that game. The Outlaws keeper Owen McElroy was also playing fantastic all day, standing on his head. He saved 61% of shots. Really unfortunate that 2-point goal that trickled in between his legs. Super unfortunate that happened. Brought his stats down a little bit. I'm sure that killed his confidence somewhat, but besides that, incredible performance. For the winning Whipsnakes team, TJ Malone, the rookie, had the best performance of the game in my opinion. He had 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Matt Dunn, who had the Brennan O'Neill matchup, played really well against him. Didn't completely lock him down, but played quite well. He had 2 ground balls and 2 caused turnovers. Finally, his line mate down there on defense, Ajax Zapitello, had 1 caused turnover, 3 ground balls, and that ever important goal. All right, guys, that is all for this video on the first of the playoff games this year. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you liked the video, please drop a like. It helps me out a ton. Check out the content we are posting on Instagram and TikTok, putting up a bunch of mini clips there, a bunch of the fun, funky little plays from the PLL that you probably won't see highlighted anywhere else, but I've got a knack for. I love the atypical highlights, just the funny little things like Brennan O'Neill chucking the ball all the way into the stands, or some of those rough, gritty ground ball scrums. They're all getting posted on those 2 platforms. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. I had a blast watching this game, and I'm looking forward to going live to Hofstra next week. If you see me, say what's up. Have a good one, guys.